Okay, I should be live. This is going to be a really exciting day. Um, there is Lichess Titled Arena number 4. I think there's over 200 players playing, including Carlsen, including a handful of very elite players. Not only a handful, just a ton of elite players. So this is going to be really exciting to watch. I just want to make sure the stream looks okay. If you guys can hear me and see the screen, let me know in the chat. I see RX is here. You are indeed live. Hello. It took me 5 minutes to say my name, or whatever your name is. Cool. This is going to be really exciting. There's currently, I don't know if you guys can see this. Maybe I can move it down just a little bit. There's a ton of people streaming, including Carlsen. Wow. Okay, so GM Dr. Junkenstein, for those who don't know, is Magnus Carlsen. Well, this is pretty historic. I don't think he's streamed a Titled Arena, like, ever. So if you're watching me, you should probably watch him as well. I'll just be commentating on the games. I'm not playing myself. And there's a ton of other people streaming. There's about 30,000 players online, just under 30,000. So I'm guessing there's going to be a ton of traffic on Lichess today. The tournament starts in just about 5 minutes. So we'll do kind of a quick preview. Let me just move this back to where it was. Carlsen was actually playing earlier against GM The Warning, who I don't know who it is. A lot of grandmasters are anonymous, and I mean, they could be like top in the world, but we just don't know who they are. I know all of them are verified through Lichess, so they are actual GMs. Oh wow, thanks, Cool Guy 2189. Just subscribed for a tier 1 sub. Appreciate that. 2 months in a row. Hello to Jorge Anchovy. Can you tell us some of the other GM usernames that I'm allowed to share? So I don't know everyone, but we can go to the tournament roster and see who's playing. Carlsen actually just broke 3,000. I think he gave GM The Warning a pretty good beatdown, and Carlsen is now better than 100% of the players on Lichess. If we go to his profile, which I should be able to open in a new tab, assuming there's no lag, let's go new tab. We can see he is a bullet champion, meaning he's ranked number 1 out of all of Lichess. I think he's the only player above 3,000 on Lichess currently. I know there's been a few players who've broken 3,000 before, but it's not an easy task because you have to consistently beat other very strong players. But going back to the tournament, there's a lot of regulars. Knight King 96 is I think he considers himself a professional online bullet player. Grandmaster Alexander Bortnik, who I know has been around for many years. He used to play a lot on ICC, and now recently he started playing on Lichess. And okay, he'll be one of the players to watch out for, one of probably the few players who can maybe give Carlsen a run for his money. But I mean, to be honest, I think Carlsen has at least a 90% chance of winning this tournament, assuming nothing crazy happens. Phobos 531, 0 viewers. Yeah, everyone's probably watching Carlsen, but I probably have more than 0 viewers at this point. I don't know. I don't really usually check the view count too often. There is a service or a website called Multi-Twitch, where if you want to watch multiple streams at the same time, you can do so and then interact with both chats. So maybe I'll go ahead and I'll share that Multi-Twitch link in case people want my commentary and watch Carlsen's stream. Let's just go to Carlsen's stream. I want to see if he's... Oh, so he's streaming under this name, Maskin Essen. And I'm not going to have the volume on, but this is a stream if anyone wants to look. I'm just going to copy the link address. And okay, Alex Villager is ready. If anyone wants to watch, I might as well promote his stream. Or you know what, I'll promote the Multi-Twitch link. Multi-Twitch twitch.tv/IM Rosen / whatever Magnus's name is. Make sure this works. There we go. Okay, so I'll share this in the chat. Axe Villager is ready. Hello to Pusaminoli. Some names are very difficult to pronounce. Does Nakamura have a name? Nakamura, I don't believe is playing in this. I don't know if he's played in the past. If he is playing, he's anonymous. Like, people would know. Hello, Braden. Welcome back. So some returning viewers, some new viewers. The tournament starts in 1 minute. Let's go to the standings. I think what we'll do, we'll follow Magnus's games for the most part, but if anyone has any recommendations, I mean, there's some pretty big names playing. John Bartholomew is playing, and of course, like, so many GMs. But here we have round 1, and it's a nice system where number 1 seed plays the number 2 seed. Carlsen against Alexander Bortnik. They just zoomed through the opening. But this is a relatively quiet position, which Magnus really excels in. And it's type of position that it's probably going to be a long grinding endgame. And one of Magnus's greatest strengths is his speed. Like, he's just so fast. And he has that psychological, like, intimidation where, okay, he's already up like about 5 seconds on the clock. In a long game, this is like a dead draw, but in a bullet game, Magnus is going to grind this out. And I would put a lot of money on Magnus at this point. Because in bullet chess, like, a 5 to 10 second advantage has to be worth at least a pawn, maybe a piece. And I really like what Magnus is doing, going for positional play on the queen side. Like, these pawns are probably going to fall. d4 was maybe unexpected. Wow, c take b6. The bishop can't be taken because b7. And Magnus will queen. b7 is a major threat. That was a nice intermezzo there. 34 seconds to 11 seconds. Ouch. Black's just lost. Just move the bishop. And keep rooks on the board. When your opponent's low on time, you just want to keep everything on the board. Keep things complicated. Now white has 3 connected passed pawns. f2 falls, but it doesn't really matter. 5 seconds left for black. Oh, did Magnus lose a bishop? No, he won the exchange. Some nice tactical finish there. Hello to Silent Khan, 7 Roy. Hello, Lack and Wrecker. Thanks, guys, for watching. I'm so grateful that people are watching me when so many other people are streaming. The Lichess admins reached out to me. Actually, one Lichess admin, shout out to RX, asked me to do official commentary. As much as I would have liked to play this tournament, I think watching the games is also exciting and slightly less stressful. That I don't have to worry struggling with my trackpad. So again, we have a kind of a similar King's Indian opening. A lot of fire happening. What is going on? Black is currently up a piece, but white has action on the h-file. I mean, Rebecca Harris would love to get a rook to h1, but I think it's just too slow. Yeah, you gotta favor black again. And for those who don't know, Rebecca Harris is Daniel Naroditsky. I think that's public knowledge. I think Naroditsky played the last Titled Arena, if I'm not mistaken, and finished towards the top. But this position, okay, white won back the piece. White's actually up. White is up 3 pawns. Wow, what just happened? I talked for a moment and the position changed. Magnus might be in trouble. And white has a mating attack too. Yeah, Magnus is in huge trouble. I'm not sure how that transpired, but this is not looking good. And the queens get traded. Like a 20-second time advantage for white. This is just over. White's mating on the back rank. Not a great start for Magnus. Ouch. So is he going to start a new game, or we can go back to the tournament? Lichess Titled Arena. So the current leader here is Clever Tactic, but something, and now someone just took his place. It's a long tournament. It's 2 hours. let's actually we could stay with Magnus's game for the next one, but then we'll probably just look at the top game in the tournament. Here Magnus is playing an IM rated 2400. Magnus is rated exactly 3000, so it's huge rating differential. I don't think Magnus will get any points for actually winning this game. Wow. He's only used 5 seconds, and Black has used 20 seconds. That's pretty brutal. And these two bishops, like the double impeding Kato is nice, especially in bullet, because the bishops just control so many squares in the center. But ooh, queen g5, nice move. If knight take d6, pawn take d6, both queen and mate are attacked. So the rook can't be taken, and meanwhile the knight is under some pressure, and Black is almost paralyzed here. h4, just simply improve. Really nice positional play by Magnus. Now White's just up a pawn, still has good position. h5, fixing the kingside pawns. Infinite Flash trying to compare me to Jerry. I don't know if we can compare me to Chess Network, but thanks for the comment, Infinite Flash Chess. Yeah, this game is going to be determined by either time or checkmate. I'm not sure what's going to happen first. I mean, the queen would like to somehow maneuver to h8 if possible. Like queen d6 coming maybe. And then queen f8. Black might promote, but okay, he's flagging. Let's go back to the tournament. Clever tactic but fail is I like his username, and he's a provisional player. So let's look at his game. He's playing Joran VDS. Someone in the chat is saying, I'm sure it's Carlsen, but this is definitely not Carlsen. I think he's won all his games so far, up a pawn in this position. Let me mute the site. I don't think we need the sound of the moves. Though this position looks very drawish. But you can never tell. Like in these bullet scenarios, opposite color bishop endings with equal pawns. Like all of a sudden, Black is mating. Wow, terrible sequence from White. G4 was probably unnecessary. Should have just played Rook C8, Rook C1. Let's go back to the tournament. Yeah, clever tactic but fail. Very good start. 13 points. Let's keep an eye on his games. And he's berserking. Oh, he's berserking against a 2249. And with a provisional rating, like he might pass 3000 very soon. Because when you have a provisional 2646 rating, you're going to gain a lot more points much more quickly. Is there a Lichess mod here? There might be. If any Lichess mods want to make themselves known in the chat. Yeah, RX is here. Not only a Lichess mod, but Lichess developer. Contributing many great features to the site. And again, clever tactic but fail, having a good position. Queen and knight versus two rooks. And the queen and knight are a great like checkmating combination. Like queen e7 was a mate threat. Now it's just a matter of mating before the time runs out. This should be a relatively routine win. Queen e6, just winning everything. Yeah, mate is coming. Black is trying to survive, but it's not going to last. Yeah, mate next move. Wow, very nice. I'm going to go to the clever tactic but fail TV, and we'll just follow his games. I'm very curious who this is. I don't think he has a public name on his profile. We can very quickly check out his profile. No, completely anonymous. Usually what happens is anonymous players will make themselves known after the tournament. I know it's happened before, like even with Carlsen, he's played anonymously but has made himself known after the tournament finishes. What is going on here? Maybe a game is not starting. Let's go back to the tournament. Clever tactic but fail, leading with 18 points. Very good start. Magnus is not even in the top 10. What happened to Dr. Drunkenstein? Where is Dr. Drunkenstein? Number 30. So he yeah, he lost that one game, and now he's won 2 in a row, but he only has 6 points. And Clever Tactic But Fail is playing. Go away for a moment and they're already like deep into the middle game. Rebecca Harris is Naroditsky, for those who don't know. And hello, Donks for me. Thanks for watching. Hello to Mr. Giga Rantina something. Oh, Magnus's stream just died. That's unfortunate. Maybe he's lagging. Clever Tactic But Fail looks to be in some trouble. Rook A8 is coming, and I don't know how he stopped this. Oh, Rook C5, very simple. Preparing Rook C8. But maybe Rook B1, Rook B8 will come? I like what Black's doing, getting the king towards the center. And it's going to be a time scramble where it's so much easier to play with the queen rather than the king. Oh my gosh, look at that checkmate. That came out of nowhere. The king's just in the center. This pawn on e6 playing a crucial role. That was ridiculous. Yeah, sometimes if you keep checking your opponent, you'll accidentally checkmate your opponent. I doubt queen e2 was accidental, but that was a nice finish. Back to the tournament. Amazing streak by Clever Tactic But Fail. This time playing in FM, and he's berserking. Not afraid to start with half the time. If there's anyone who's not familiar with how Lichess tournaments work, if you berserk a game, you start with half of your time, which in bullet chess is a pretty significant disadvantage, starting with 30 seconds rather than a minute. But if you win the game, you get an extra point in the tournament standings. So it makes sense to do so against weaker players who you think you can beat, even with the time odds. Donks for me asking my new apartment. This is not my new apartment. This is my grandma's house in California. I'm spending kind of a week vacation here, getting some sun, escaping from the still cold Chicago winter, even though it's springtime. It's a nicer location. And my grandma has super fast internet, which I just discovered like a day or two ago. So it's pretty nice to stream and watch the games and have really not any lag. And is that a new mic? Yeah, this is a new mic because my old mic died. It just stopped working. Let's just pay attention to this game. There's about to be 3 queens. There are 3 queens now, 4 queens on the board, 3 of which are white's queen. Black is trying to flag white, but it's made on h8. Nice finish. Wow. Oh, we don't need to go to analysis board. Let's go back to the tournament. Clever Tactic But Fail. 27 points in the lead. Second place is Jesse Pinkman. I would not have expected the tournament to start off like this. I thought Magnus was going to dominate, given his performance in previous titled arenas. But we're going to stay with Clever Tactic But Fail. If you want to watch Magnus's games, you can watch his own stream. I'm sure we'll catch a look at or take a look at Magnus later, but I mean, this is a player to follow. And we should probably start speculating, like, who is this? Could it be Nakamura? Could it be another top 10 player? Who else is very strong at bullets? Maybe MVL? Because there's not too many players in the world who will be this consistent and just like so strong at bullet. I wasn't even looking at the position, but Black just is up a rook, now up a queen, game over. This guy's not only winning games convincingly, but he's winning games quickly. Back to tournament. Let's take a quick look at Magnus's game. Oh, Magnus isn't playing at the moment. Clever Tactic But Fail. I'm waiting for a game to start. Here we go. He's playing Opera Wesen, who is a Lichess regular, also a Lichess patron. Get this little symbol if you give if you support Lichess. Lichess runs entirely on donations. And Opera Wesen is a pretty strong bullet player. I mean, he plays all the time on Lichess. I always see his name, at least on a weekly basis. Oh, what is his stream? I'll share the multi-Twitch link again in the chat. Maybe I should make a Mubot command for that. Donks for me is asking Grandma's Ultra Bullet rating. I mean, you can't spell Grandmaster without Grandma, so. But my grandma likes to play like pinball or online word games. Not much of a chess player. Sorry, Eric. Magnus is streaming. Don't be sorry. There's no sorry if you're gonna watch Magnus's stream. I completely understand. I'm a little bit disappointed though. Like I really hope Magnus like archives his stream because I want to watch it afterwards. Like this is historic. Like a world champion streaming Bullet online. It doesn't happen almost ever. Like imagine like 20 years ago, like or 40 years ago, like Fischer streaming online Bullets. It's very rare that you get to see a world champion like in a comfortable setting, just like playing online Bullets. So please, no apologies for watching Magnus. But here we're watching Clever Tactic But Fail, up a ton of time. Black has no chance. Just win the pawns. At least as long as white can keep the pawns on the board, it's a win. And this is actually a winning king pawn ending anyway. Most king pawn endings where one side's up a pawn are winning. We're going to go back to tournament. I would actually be surprised if it's Naka, because I thought Naka plays exclusively on chess.com. Oh wow, we have a big game coming up. Dr. Junkenstein has made it back. He's above 3,000 again. This is a huge matchup. And they haven't played yet. So this is going to be exciting to watch. And RX 1338 with the bits. 500 bits. Will Magnus catch up? Oh, I didn't realize that Magnus is in third place. It's incredible how quickly things can change in a Bullet tournament in terms of standings. Like you get on a streak. And like just a few minutes ago, Magnus was in 30th place. But I assume he's on a streak. Currently in third. If we look at the position, white just lost a pawn on d5, but there's two open files, both of which the rooks kind of control. Black's trying to neutralize. There's a lot of tension in this position, and maybe a slightly critical moment. Bishop take f6, counterattacking the queen. There's a lot of trades happening. But now there's this pin. Knight e3 might be a threat. Knight b4, what is that move? Why did he play knight b4? He just resigns down a piece. Is there any explanation? Maybe he was trying to play b4, but he mouse slipped. I was expecting knight e3, but then knight f6. Black was doing well, just up a pawn. That's so bizarre. That's probably a mouse slip, unless he just didn't see the pawn on c5. Let's go back to the tournament. Magnus moves down to 6th place. Has lost 2 games this tournament. Clever Tactic But Fail. Looks like the only player who has won all his games. Let's stick with this this game. Playing Zuber, rated 2739. Is Clever? Who's Clever? Is Clever Andrew? Oh, is Clever Tactic But Fail Andrew? No, Andrew is playing under Penguin, I believe. Penguin GM. And I think the case with Andrew is that he has school in the afternoon, so he plays the first part of the Bullet tournament on his iPad, and then when he gets home from school, then he plays on his computer and then starts streaming. And I know Andrew Tang has done this in past arenas and has finished in like at least top 5. I think Andrew Tang is one of like the best players in Bullet in the world. And to play from his iPad for half the tournament but still finish in the top is it's a pretty impressive feat. Okay, what is going on here? Black seems to be doing well. If I'm counting correctly, Black is up a pawn. This pawn on c6 looks somewhat scary though. And again, Clever Tactic But Fail with the time advantage. c7 happens. The queen is infiltrating. If rook takes c7, queen e8. And I think this game is going to come down to time. Black has a better position objectively, but doesn't always matter. And now the queen's going to deliver checks. It's interesting though. This could be close, but 2 seconds for Black. That's not enough time. Yeah, Black flags. I don't think I've seen too many games where Clever Tactic But Fail has had a worse position, But I guess if he has a worse position, he can compensate with time. Let's go back to the tournament. 43 points. Now, the interesting thing is that every single titled arena which has taken place, Magnus has won and then returned the money to Lichess. Like, Magnus doesn't accept prizes from Lichess. So I'm curious if Clever Tactic but Fail wins, Lichess will have to maybe give away the first place prize for once. It is Andrew. Is it really Andrew? Twitter? Someone's sharing a Twitter link. We're gonna open this in a new tab just for a moment. Andrew Tang, check his Twitter checking his Twitter feed. I don't know if I know what that means. Is he actually Clever Tactic but Failed, or he just tweeted that because it's the guy leading the tournament? 4:40 p.m. I don't know. Or maybe it was just a status from like a while ago. Oh, it's a tweet from February 10th. Okay. It could just be a coincidence. Maybe it is Andrew. Who knows? I thought Penguin GM is playing. Oh, Penguin GM is not playing. Interesting. Well, if anyone can confirm in the chat if Clever Tactic but Fail is Andrew, because a lot of people are speculating it is Nakamura. He just won another game. Oh, this is brutal. Let's go back to the tournament. I mean, I was expecting to follow Magnus's games today. Oh, wow, there's a lot of streamers. Or a ton of streamers. Okay, we're going to keep following the games. Shout out to XI Sparks, one of the regular viewers and fans of the stream. Hello to Spins92. Thanks for the comment. A lot of other people. If you're new to the stream, feel free to say hi. Was that a bishop trap? I don't know if I understand knight e5. He could have played bishop take e2. White is currently up a piece. Doesn't seem like black has much compensation. How many pawns? Black just has a pawn for the piece. White's pieces are very well placed. The king is safe on d2. White's just going for simplification. This is very close to resignable. Queen e8 comes. Just trade queens. Sometimes in these tournaments, if you're losing to a strong player, you just want to resign, move on to the next game. Looks like black is fighting here, trying to keep things closed. And the thing for white, he's up a piece, but he has to find some weakness to target. This is an interesting idea. Bishop e8, attacking from the rear. g6 is weak. Now this g-pawn, it's blockaded, but it is a pass pawn. It's pretty heavily blockaded, but at some point in the future... Okay, knight e6 just forks the king and the bishop. Tough finish. Let's go back to the tournament. 51 points, almost double the amount of points as second place. Are we going to see another Clever Tactic versus Drunkenstein matchup? Yes, we will. I'm sure we'll see a lot of matchups like this. And the opening that's taking place, this resembles something that Andrew plays. I know he's a d4 player. And when I play Andrew, we get into these Queen's Gambit decline lines a lot. G4, nice move. Going for the early G5 push. This is a very thematic way of attacking. But we have to keep in mind, black is a one and only Magnus Carlsen. So he's going to defend here. But it just seems easier to play for white. Like the H-file is going to be open if black can double up. But maybe black's getting counterplay on the C-file. Rook C8's a threat. White has to be careful. Maybe knight back to c3. He's calculating knight f6, but knight f6 probably didn't work. b5, getting initiative. These types of positions, initiative is just so important, especially opposite side casting positions. If you can keep initiative, it just makes it easier to play, and then you get the time advantage. And here Magnus is up in time, but the position is exploding. Like d6 might be a threat. But d6, bishop e6, so maybe it's not so simple. Queen d1, nice move, retreating but planning to go forward. Exchange on d6. Now white has initiative against a g7 pawn, d6. If white can keep making threats, that's what he wants. It's an incredible situation, like both players going for very similar types of attacks. Oh, I have no idea what's going on. It could come down to time. The time situation's pretty close. Black managed to win the d7 pawn. If we count the pawns, it's 3 on 4. This pawn on b3 could be annoying, but the a pawn's a passed pawn. Maybe king c1, like remove the king from being kind of stuck. I wouldn't be surprised if like another 20 moves are played before the game finishes. Okay, b3 pawn still exists and queen e1 is mate. Ouch. Queen take e4, it's one of those time pressure moves. Hanging mate in 1. That's brutal. He had to play queen d1. I think that was the only move to avoid disaster. Nice play by Magnus. Let's go back to the tournament. I think that's the first game that clever tactic but fail has lost. Back to tournament. There's still a significant lead, but Magnus has secured second place. We'll look at the top game. Playing GM or Grilla. Seems like a decent opponent, but okay, it's still early in the game. Black's rating is still provisional. 29-23. Don't see a provisional rating like that too often. I mean, I would be surprised if Andrew made a new account just for this tournament, but maybe it's possible. Wow. Okay, black has a good position. If I'm counting, it's equal material, but there's some pressure. This rook is in white's house. Black's going for the attack. Though it's not so clear, how does black proceed here? I mean, white has everything covered. And sometimes when you're playing bullet, if you can just make sure that you have no weaknesses, then you can breathe easily. The queen f1 is a threat, queen c4, good response. Covering all the key squares. Queen c4 is a great defensive move, defending this and this. And white's just up a pawn, and has a time advantage. But queen d3 again, now queen c4 is not possible, queen e2 is possible. I don't know why he didn't take on e4. It looked like that was a free pawn. Wait, white's up a bishop. I didn't even realize that, but the bishop just got trapped. But now white's going to be up... White's up 3 pawns here. And has a time advantage. White should win this. But he just hung a rook. Ouch, that's gotta hurt. Now black is winning. I mean, white has 4 pawns for the rook, but I mean, it's going to be a mating attack. Queen d1 coming next, winning the queen. This is game over. That's rough. I mean, black was very close to losing that, but hanging a rook is not a good thing. Going back to tournament. Wow, there's got to be at least 20 people streaming. I think most of whom are playing the tournament. Let's look at, is Carlsen playing? Let's hover over his game. Take a look at Carlsen. I think he's on a streak. His rating's still above 3,000. Just trying to absorb what's going on in this position. Currently up a pawn. And the interesting thing is, these guys played before the tournament started. They had a pretty extensive bullet match. And Carlsen is on the verge of adopting the warning. He's won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games in a row. If Magnus wins this game, it will be adoption. For those of you who don't know what adoption is, it's when you win 10 games in a row, which is pretty brutal. Though white could be in trouble. Queens are getting traded. Black is up a knight. The pawn's stopping, or the knight is stopping the passed a pawn. Carlsen's gonna lose this. It's tough. There's not going to be any adoption here. Yeah, completely lost. The knight does a good job of blocking out the king from infiltrating. That's rough. I know a lot of people are rooting for Magnus. He just dropped to 3rd place. These types of tournaments, it's really important to keep your winning streak to gain the maximum number of points. Let's take a look at Clever Tactic But Fail. Oh, craziness going on. I have no idea what's going on here. The king is going for a bit of an adventure. White just won the bishop, but loses a rook. Question is, can white somehow mate the king? This looks like some kind of mating net. Yeah, rook e7, queen g7. Nice finish. Back to tournament. This is pretty fast paced. If there's anyone watching who wants me to follow a particular player, please let me know. You can take a quick look at the standings here. 55 points for first place. A lot of people have somewhere between 30 and 40 points, it seems like. Crew64 doing well. One of my biggest rivals, another streamer, 28 points. 15th place, not bad. Okay, let's go back to some of the top games. Someone's asking if Fabiano Caruana is playing, who I don't see. I'm pretty sure Fabiano played under the name Bomba Granite. I mean, it's possible that Fabiano could be playing under a new account. Maybe it's even possible Fabiano could be Clever Tactic But Fail. Oh, Magnus said that Clever Tactic But Fail is Penguin. If Magnus said it, he would probably have a good idea, because Magnus would know like what kind of style Andrew plays in. Wow, okay, so wait, did white just resign, or black just resign this position? Because the knight is okay, so many things are falling. The rook is trapped, tension along the e-file. Back to tournament. 59 points. We just passed the half-hour mark. Yeah, let's keep looking at Clever Tactic But Fail. I would encourage people to make clips of the stream. If Magnus says something that's notable, make a clip of it on Twitch. That way I can go back and at least look at like the highlights. Because I would like to be watching Magnus right now, but okay. I do have my own duties. Another crazy position, and I think we've seen that Clever Tactic But Fail is not afraid of getting like these very chaotic and messy positions. This is pretty double-edged. Black is going for a kingside attack. White is going for positional play on the queenside. Just won the c6 pawn. But sometimes if you have an attack, material isn't as important as initiative and king safety. Bishop f3, trying to remove one of white's only kingside defenders. The question is, how does black make progress? White is going for trades. Rook e7, maybe tickling the knight, but d5 falls. Black's just down 2 pawns. This would be a pretty unfortunate win because white is below 2,500. What just happened? Black just won both pawns back. Slow motion replay. Bishop take d4, bishop take e3. Wow. It's still crazy. Like, pawns are coming off the board, and rooks and queens, our bishops are still on. So both kings are potentially very weak. And it's opposite color bishops. White just lost the bishop on d3. Rook g2 coming though? Maybe rook g2 is a smarter option, but white's oh, white was just flagging. He just resigns. Bishop g5, blocking the check, discovered check, and discovery attack on the rook. That's a beautiful move. Like double discovery and blocking a check. Back to tournament. So Clever Tactic But Fail has only lost one game. The one game, was it to Carlsen? I think it was to Carlsen. We'll keep an eye. 63 points. Carlsen has 40 points. Yeah, I'm definitely planning to watch the recording on Twitch. I really hope Magnus is archiving the video, which he should. Chess bus. Yeah, his one loss was to Magnus. Crazy stuff just happened. There was some liquidation. Black's rook was trapped, but now it is it's equal material. More things getting traded. And it's another one of these positions in a long game. This is just a dead draw with opposite color bishops. But in a bullet game, it's going to come down to time. And I'm putting my money on clever tactic, but fail, just given White's rating. And these positions can be deceptive too. Like when the dark squares become weak, there might be some issues for White. The king is not ideally placed on h3. And these are two connected passed pawns. White has passed pawns too, but they're not as impressive. Actually, c5 might just be lost. Wow. Yeah, just take c5. And then start pushing. This is time for the push 'em baby command. Maybe Mubot will share the link, push 'em baby. The one and only Yasser Serouan on Spotify. Rook take b3, brutal move. Winning the bishop, defending his own bishop, and checking the king. And bishop take b8. Yeah, bishops do move backwards. That was pretty brutal. 67 points. Carlsen with 44 points. Another key matchup. So far they're split. It's 2-2. I think we have a similar opening as last game. And I remember the first game Carlsen lost to this guy, he just hung a piece like out of nowhere, some kind of mouse slip. We have a very symmetrical position. I think things are going to get traded, and it's going to go into some grinding endgame, which is usually Carlsen's strong point. b4, nice move. The knight is pinned to the rook. Ooh, queen b7 is clever with the idea that after take, the bishop's attacked and the knight's attacked. Is black surviving here? Because the knight's also pinned. Knight take e6. Some kind of desperado. I like White's chances, just because it's Carlsen. But I don't know if White got that much. I thought White was doing well after b4, but things have simplified. And what is going on? Black... Oh, it's just equal material. Black has a pass c-pawn. But this queen and knight and queen and bishop matchup could favor White. Just because the knight is so tricky in these positions, the d5 square is an amazing square for the knight. White just won a pawn, but now the game's going to revolve around the pass c pawn. And shout out to RX, the 1500 bits cheer. Yeah, this this matchup deserves some sort of bits. Maybe not to me, but certainly to the players. Wow, so it's a race of if black can promote the pawn or if white can somehow mate. I like what black just did there, but he lost the pawn. And Magnus has a time advantage. Magnus is just up 2 pawns and up 3 seconds. Assuming there's no mouse slips, okay, queen take f6 is just made in 2. Nice finish there. We're going back to the tournament. So another loss. So Magnus now has a plus score against clever tactic but fail. And that's really important to take away the streak, to keep his own streak. Let's follow Carlsen for the time being. Oh, you know what? Let's actually watch the George Meyer game. Because is it George Meyer or Georg Meyer? I never know. I think we can safely assume that this is Andrew. Because Penguin GM is not playing, and at least for myself, I know this is Andrew because I've played this exact line many times against him. What is black doing? He just cemented his knight on b2. I don't know if the knight on b2 is a good piece or just terribly out of the game. Knight d3 aiming to trade off the knight. This is just positional heaven for white. Like, look at this knight. Look at black's pawn structure. This should be a relatively straightforward win. It's one of these grinding positions. White has no weaknesses. It's going to continually expand. Not to mention, can I count? White is up a pawn, right? 5 pawns to 6 pawns. And white is winning more pawns along the f-file. This is brutal. We have another Twitter status which is shared. Might as well click on this. Is it the same one as before? The clever tactic. Yeah, clever tactic but fail. But that was tweeted in February. I think I'm gonna go ahead and retweet that. Let's make that status relevant again. It seems like everyone is sharing that status. What just happened? I turned away for a moment and white lost all his pawns, and this looks kind of drawish now. White is up 1 pawn, but the h-pawn's gonna fall. This f-pawn's dangerous. White has to somehow trade the h-pawn for the f-pawn. Okay, never mind. This is completely winning for white. Rook endings like this, you don't want your king to be cut off so far. And white has a time advantage. If you want me to play some music, or if you want to listen to some music, play your own music. It's one thing I don't do on the stream, is play music, because everyone has their own musical preferences. So play some music on your own, and yeah, I don't want to upset anyone with my musical tastes. So a nice endgame win from white. Back to tournament. I also don't want to run into copyright issues. A lot of streamers play music and then their streams get muted because of copyright. So, oh, Magnus lost a game. He lost his streak after he beat Clever Tactic but failed. He lost to someone. Who did he lose to? Oh, he lost to Rebecca Harris. Oh, Naroditsky putting the beat down on Magnus. We're going to keep following the tournament leader. Crazy position. If Magnus has any weakness, I think it's like very crazy positions where it's not a matter of positionally grinding down your opponent, but it's a matter of seeing tactics quickly. And I would be scared as white. The queen was attacked, this bishop's attacked, the rook's attacked by this bishop on b7. Is Magnus just getting crushed by an FM? This is brutal. If there's any like underage people watching, you should cover your eyes, because it seems like black is dominating. Black's just up a rook. h5, nice move. And black has a serious time advantage too. This G file. But you can never count Magnus out. He likes to go for tricks. And when you have the advantage, sometimes that's the hardest point to win. But there's a mate threat on h1. How does white defend? There's also rook g2 coming. Did he just miss rook g2? Or no, he found rook g2. Don't know what just happened there. Rook g2, game over. Magnus just lost 2 games. Oh no, that wasn't Magnus. That was Clever Tactic but fail. Never mind. Okay, so Clever Tactic but fail was playing that game. Still very brutal for white. So the top 2 places no longer have streaks. However, the margin between first and second is a bit closer. Let's see the top game. Naroditsky playing black against Andrew. I think it's a lot easier to say Andrew rather than Clever Tactic but fail. So we'll leave it at this. So I'm wondering, is Andrew missing school to play this whole tournament? Because usually he has school at this time. Maybe he just had to prioritize the more important things in life. But Naroditsky with a good position. White with a pretty immaculate pawn chain. But if we count material, white is down a piece. White is also down a pawn. But it doesn't matter, white just resigned. Did Andrew just lose 3 games in a row? Oh no, he lost 2 games in a row, but he lost a game previously to Magnus. Yeah, bullet tournaments can be very streaky. Even for strong players. Like if you lose 1 game, sometimes you get in a bad rhythm. Another key matchup. 836 yada yada is making a good point. It might be spring break. That's a very real possibility because it is springtime. Which I guess the timing works out well for Andrew. Okay, so key matchup, Magnus playing white, Andrew Tang playing black. There's going to be pressure on the c-file. And if we see, Magnus has won the last 2 games. And this is one of Magnus's like bread and butter positions where he's building up pressure. Things are pretty calm, not too crazy. E5, nice both positional and tactical move. Lots of tension along the diagonal. D6 is a target. Looks like white's winning a pawn. Bishop take D6. White's just up a pawn. Rook C7, nice. Not trading rooks. Sometimes when you're up material, you want to keep pieces on the board. Keep the pressure. Kind of wondering why black didn't take on H3 there. Maybe there is some hidden tactics. Queen G6, threatening the rook on E8, threatening Queen F7. Now white can just take the rook, be up more material. Maybe maybe rook C8 is not necessary. It is a question, how does white finish things off here? H4, when in doubt, push pawns. H4 I don't like, it's weakening. Now G4 is attacked and the knight's attacked. That's not a great move. Knight H2, necessary, defending everything, but now F2 is attacked. Maybe rook C2, just defend. I mean, white's up material, but black has annoying play, and now black is getting back up on time. And it's going to come down to time. And this is Andrew's strong point. I think Andrew is convincingly the best in the world. What just happened? Knight F1, white resigned. Knight H3. Wait, why did he resign? Knight H3 was coming? Wait, I'm so confused. White resigned. So Magnus resigned, but why? Knight H3, King H2? Maybe I'm missing something. Oh, Queen G2, mate. Okay, missing something. Okay, that was unfortunate. Not used to people resigning in like these time scramble situations. Ouch. So Magnus lost that game. Andrew is keeping his lead. And let's keep in mind the first place prize is $2,250, which is a pretty good payday for playing 2 hours of bullets. So let's keep an eye on Andrew's games. Now, a question for the chat, is Andrew streaming? Because I don't think I noticed his name in the stream. Maybe he wanted to take this tournament a lot more seriously, because there's some serious money on the line. Like $2,000, like over $2,000 is what a lot of people like take a month to make. Okay, 836 is saying no stream from Andrew. Which maybe works in his favor a lot. Like he can just focus on playing good chess, not needing to worry about interacting with the chats. And with the fact that Magnus is streaming, maybe takes some distraction away from his play. Wow, so white just sacrificed on G6 with the double attack. White is down a piece here, but there's major pressure. Now it's a rook and what is it? A rook and a pawn for 2 minor pieces. Objectively, I don't know what's going on in this position, but you have to favor white. With all these pawns, and like he just won the E7 pawn. Now it's time to start pushing pawns. Rook take D5, sneaky move, taking advantage of the fork ideas. But white's just much better here. But can he win with enough time? He has 3 seconds left. And knights are tricky. The knight's going to deliver checks. 1 second left. Okay, he sacks a rook. Andrew's very good at playing these positions, but oh, he just decides to draw. How did that end in a draw? It was just repetition. With 0.33 seconds left. Ouch. I mean, white should have won that game, but he was a bit too slow, which is a bit unusual for Andrew. So back to tournament. Carlsen is in 3rd place. MSB2 has taken 2nd place. Now we should note that there's 6 prizes. 2nd place wins $500. 3rd place wins $200. The 6th place wins $50. Still not a bad, not bad pocket money. We're gonna stick with Andrew here. Check my my notifications real quick. I do appreciate, let me just give a shout out to like all the followers and donors and cheers. Again, thank you RX for the bits. Thank you Spins92 for the donation. Donated $5 a little while ago. I was not looking at the notifications because there's so much to follow with this tournament, but I do appreciate the donation. Even though I'm just providing commentary, I'm not actually playing. We're going to stay with the top game here. Thank you 836 for the follow. Thank you Spacebore for the follow. Kot Landaw, thank you for the follow. Greg Goth. Lots of new followers here. Good to see you all. Yeah, we're going to stick with the games. For anyone that doesn't know what's going on today, this is a Lichess Titled Arena. There might be some people new to Lichess who are watching the stream. It's 2 hours of nonstop bullets. Many of the top players in the world are competing, including world champion Magnus Carlsen. Before the stream, I said Magnus had a 90% chance to win the event, but I was not expecting Andrew Tang to be taking this so seriously, and just pretty much massacring the competition so far. Here we have a tricky endgame. White has at least perpetual. If White wants to, he can take a draw. It's a question of whether White's going to play for a win. I don't know if I like Queen G6 because the Queen can take and then come back and defend. Like Bishop take H6, Queen G8. Ooh, Bishop E5 check. Black is getting counterplay. And now Black's going to start delivering the checks. White still has a time advantage, but I don't quite like what White did there. Maybe Queen take G3. Yeah, the Queen's attack, there's no discoveries. Black's just up a ton of pawns. That's unfortunate for White. He had a draw in his hands, but it was a psychological situation. He wanted more, and he just completely overpushed. And this is completely winning. Bishop B2, you can queen and then move the bishop back to B2. 6 seconds is more than enough time to win this. Just pre-move every move. Back to tournament. Are we going to see another matchup? Is Magnus playing? Is Magnus? He might be playing. He is currently playing. Playing IM Eric 2003. We have a relatively equal position, but as we know, these positions are Magnus's bread and butter. I wouldn't be surprised if Magnus somehow keeps the pawns on the board until Black flags. The phone is going off, but I'm going to let that go to voicemail. Yeah, as long as White can keep the time advantage and keep pawns on the board, I like White's chances to win this. It's not that easy though. Like Black is giving some trades, and if the G4 pawn is lost, the knight will sack itself for the D3 pawn. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take back what I said. This is gonna be a draw, unless Black goes crazy. But just knight take E4, just take on E4. Now one funny thing, White can play on. White can try and win this. Because if you keep the pawn on the board, there's theoretically mating chances. That's what Magnus is doing. That's insane. White won this game because of Black's pawn on d4. That was brilliant. Oh my gosh. I don't think I've ever seen that happen in such a dirty fashion. But that's why you should you should know these situations in bullets. It's brutal, but I think it's FIDE rules where if there's any sort of mate possible, even if it's very unlikely, if you flag, it's just declared a win. That's brutal for Black. And he had so many chances earlier to just sack and draw, but he got too low on time. Back to tournament. Clever tactic, but fail. Getting back on a streak. Second place has 70 points, only 6 points behind. Let's stay with the top game for now. GM the Warning, I know, is a strong player. Not sure who he is or she is. But Black's in trouble. White's up a pawn. Though never mind, it's equal material. Things are getting traded. It's going to come down to time. King g2, nice move. White's going to pick up the f2 pawn. Wow. I like White's chances here to win this. Obviously, it's a theoretical draw, but just don't repeat if you're White. You can play on time, play for pre-moves. Oh man, I hate being in these situations as Black because it's so hard to pre-move. And Black flags. Yeah, that's rough. The best shot for Black is to get some sort of repetition. But, that's brutal. So we've seen a couple dead draw positions the last couple games where in bullets, if you're low on time, it's easy to lose those situations. Back to tournament. Let's look at the top game. There's just over an hour left. So if Andrew can keep up his pace, he has good chances to win this. So it looks like some kind of King's Indian position gone bad for White. Usually when you're White, when you have the pawn on e5, you want some kingside attack, but the pawn on e5 just disappeared. White has no kingside attack. Black has a ton of positional pressure against the c2 pawn. I would expect rook c3 to come at some point. The White gets in c4, but okay, the c pawn's just lost. Black is now up a pawn. Rook c1, nice move. Maybe the knight can come to g4. I can't draw arrows, but I'm sure people get the point. Knight g4 is a really nice square for the knight. The question is, can Black remove this knight and then play knight g4? I mean, Black has a lot of great winning chances here, just with material. The fact that White's king is very much targeted on h2. But White's putting up a fight. The knight is actually cemented on e5. And everything in White's position is defended. There's no clear weakness that Black can target. a3 is defended by the queen. And Black is sort of tied down. Like the knight's tied down to the bishop. This pawn's attacked. What was bishop h5? Just a free bishop. Oh no, okay. It was taking advantage of the overworked knight. But that's unfortunate. There was no way to defend queen take g3. That's rough. This queen and knight have no way to defend. Back to tournament. Yeah, nice game from Andrew. Okay, let's take a look at Magnus. Playing White. Yeah, this is Magnus's type of position. Just pretty quiet. Going for some kind of positional play. Has the two bishops. Has slightly more space with the c4 pawn. And I love positions like this for White because there's so much pressure on the d file that I can never play d5. And d6 just falls. Queen take d6, White's up a pawn. Just trade and convert the endgame. Magnus makes it look so easy. He's playing a very strong GM. But, I mean, this is why Magnus is one of the best in the world. Braden Laughlin, welcome back. You can't spell Braden Laughlin without laugh. He's asking me, have you read Mastering Chess Strategy? I think I admitted this on yesterday's stream, but I have not read too many chess books. I've heard of that book, but I have not read it, unfortunately. If you recommend it, maybe I'll take a look at it. But, I mean, I'm a huge advocate for learning things online rather than books. I know there's so many books which are incredibly valuable, and I kind of wish I knew more to just recommend to players who ask me. But I'm not an expert when it comes to chess books, at least. Okay, so Magnus is up. He was up one pawn earlier, now he's up 2 pawns. But Black has a passed pawn, but Black just lost a knight, and it's game over. Back to tournament. Score situation. Magnus is 19 points behind Andrew Tang. MSB2 in clear second place, but no streak. Let's take a look at the Upper Wesen game. Andrew seems to be in trouble. The queen is pinned. The Black does have some material for the queen. Black actually has 2 rooks and a bishop for the queen and 2 pawns. A very strange material situation. The bigger factor here is time. I mean, White is just about to flag. Yeah. Oh, White gets mated. That's dirty. Didn't even have to flag him. Okay, back to tournament. Someone speculating in the chat that clever tactic but fail is Kasparov, which is not true. Which I don't think is true. pretty sure everyone has confirmed it's Andrew. Back to tournament. Georg Meyer playing white. They've played once so far this tournament. Andrew won that game. Black's under pressure. This pin is kind of dangerous. Now the knight is still pinned to the queen. The question is, can white exert more pressure? Maybe rook c2 and rook c1. Black is planning the same double up on the c file. Every piece in the position is staring at the knight, with the exception of the light squared bishop. Sometimes that's a problem. The light squared bishop can actually be useful in the position. White would like to play b4, but it seems difficult to play. There's still a ton of tension here, and tactics could happen for both sides along the c file. Black is moving very slowly for some reason. I mean, white's up about now about 10 seconds on the clock. A36 is asking, what resources did I use to study to get to IM? I could go into this more detail later. Like, if you have specific questions or you're looking for recommendations, send me a personal message. I will say that to get to IM, I had to just consistently play in high level tournaments. I had to consistently play players stronger than me, and that's how I learned the most, is just playing stronger players. I lost a lot of games in like these strong open tournaments or strong invitational tournaments, but ultimately that's how you improve and get better. But yeah, anyone with specific questions, just send me a message later, because we're gonna try and keep up with the pace of this bullet tournament. This is a really exciting scenario. Both sides have less than 5 seconds. It's gonna come down to speed, and we know Andrew is one of the speediest players in the world. He's gonna pre-move every move. At some point, maybe he should go for this f5 break, try and slow white down. Yeah, he goes for f5. At some point now, he's going to go for maybe the e3 pawn. Oh, he just won the a4 pawn, and he's up 2 seconds. This is game over. White just flagged. It's a beautiful thing about bullet. It's so entertaining to watch these time scrambles. Shout out to Daniel Moreno, one of the longtime viewers. It's going well. I didn't think watching bullet and giving commentary on bullet would be so tiring, but it's only been just over an hour. Like, my mouth is beginning to be sore. I don't think I've ever talked this much in one sitting. Okay, we're going to keep with Andrew's games. He's playing a London. Another confirmation that this is Andrew. I know he has a London in his repertoire. Very easy opening to play in bullet. Anyone who follows me will know the London is one of my favorite openings. And he's actually getting into a very typical pawn structure where there is an early trade on f4. And it's solid for white. White has very good control over e5 and d4. This h4 push, I don't know what it accomplishes, but I mean, white just has a very solid position. Maybe, yeah, white's going for the kingside pawn storm, giving black something to worry about. Knight take f7 followed by knight take e6. Black's position's falling apart. White could win the rook if he wants, but I think it's better to keep the knight on e6 and go for play against the king. I mean, generally knights are worth less than rooks, but this knight is just a monster. Maybe h6. Wow, these 3 connected passed pawns. Black is attempting to blockade. What is going on here? The queen wants to penetrate somehow. Maybe queen g6 coming and then h7 ideas. I'm not entirely sure how white's going to finish things off. What is the material situation? Okay, black just resigns. Knight b5, nice finish. White just has too many pawns. Black did have 2 minor pieces for a rook, but I mean, white had 5 extra pawns. We're going to go back to tournament. 96 points for Andrew, 75 points for Carlsen. There's under an hour left. That's not that much time to catch up. Here we have a first place versus second place matchup. I just noticed Andrew's rating is no longer provisional. He's just below 3,000. Not used to saying 3,000 when it comes to rating. Look at this pawn chain. Okay, the pawn chain just kind of fell apart. And white's king is very suspicious. I don't know what provoked him to castle queenside. I'm reading the game chat here. People are speculating that MSB2 is Nakamura. Another kind of anonymous player. But white's doing well. White's up a pawn, active rooks, the king's attacked. Wait, white's up more than the pawn. White's up a full rook. Why is black playing on? How did that happen? I thought black was doing very well with the king situation. I guess black's king was unsafe too. Bishop d6, ouch. A double attack and a skewer. Back to tournaments. So Andrew had a slow streak, but now he's back on a winning streak, just past 100 points for the tournament. And as long as he keeps his streak, he's getting 4 points for every win. Ouch. Okay, so Magnus is in third place with 75 points, but we're gonna keep the eye on Andrew. I don't think we've seen this opening too often. We have what looks like kind of a slow Spanish position. Or was this an Italian? Some kind of king's pawn opening. Locomotive 6T is asking, who is a clever guy? I assume you just started watching. Clever tactic but fail is none other than Grandmaster Andrew Tang, who's a regular to Lichess. Usually he plays under the account Penguin GM. Today I think he wanted to take it a lot more seriously. He wanted to make it so maybe players would not know who he is. Let's take a moment. What's going on in this position? Queen can't take on c6 because rook b8 and c7 is coming. Ooh. Maybe black had the clever tactic, but it looks like it's about to fail. c7, rook b8 and c8 queen looks to be unstoppable. Though maybe rook b8, black can take on e4, try and get counterplay. But rook take f8, very nice. And black's just down a minor piece. Time to resign. RX1338 saying Mask Santa Claus. I wonder if that's what wait, what is that even referring to? Oh, that's referring to Carlsen's Twitch name, I think. Back to tournaments. So Andrew just lost. He lost after a pretty extensive streak. And Carlsen is keeping his own streak. So he has 83 points. Here we have another pretty interesting matchup. We have Andrew Tang against Alexander Bortnik, who's a longtime bullet professional. I was watching them play last night, and I know they had a lot of structures like this. I think this is easier to play for white. It's just more space. There's these looming ideas of a3 and b4. Black plays a4, but now the a pawn falls. So now white's just up a pawn. I'm looking at the chat. Thank you, Daniel Moreno, 99 for the subscription. Really appreciate all the support today. I also appreciate white's amazing position. Like, look at this pawn chain. Now all white has to do is get the queen to a6. Maybe easier said than done. There's also ideas of knight c3 to b5, which just looks devastating, followed by queen a2, queen a7 is just lights out. Rook take e2, the counterattack. Can white play queen a3? Maybe queen a3 is better. I mean, white still has a strong position. Black is sacking to try and create some complications. But okay, white's just up a piece. Game over. I mean, a lot of people are speculating that that Naka is one of these top players, but I don't think there's any confirmation. I don't think Nakamura has ever played on Lichess, so I guess it would be historic that Nakamura and Carlsen are playing the same bullet tournament. But all the attention is on Andrew Tang. Playing Georg Meyer again. Andrew has already beaten Georg twice before. Looks like deja vu. They've had the same position, the same knight on c5, lots of pressure. The knight's pinned to the queen. There's tension on the c5 for both sides. b4 is looming. Like, b4 is looming. The knight on c6 looks really annoying for black to deal with. But okay, things just traded. Now it's equal material. White's up on time. what I've realized from watching Andrew's games, it doesn't really matter if you're up on time because he's so good in time scrambles that even if you have like a 5 to 10 second lead, he can very easily make that up when the game comes to a time scramble. But if we look at the position, I mean, White's doing very well. This pawn should be should win the game for White. But it's going to take work. Black's going for counterplay, knight takes g4. White's just trying to queen the pawn. I mean, a7, a8 looks pretty unstoppable. But wow, rook h1's coming. White's trying to, or Black's trying to create a mating net. Rook g1 was a mate threat. Now if rook g1, there's bishop g2, so it's not that easy. And Black is spending time here searching for mating ideas which probably don't exist. Yeah, it's just over. Rook g1, bishop d2, resign. That was clever, but it did fail. I don't know how many times I'll get to say that, but okay, so Magnus is keeping his streak. Magnus is in clear second, 91 points. Magnus is only 11 points behind. I think this has been the closest margin so far this event, at least from the beginning. Let's stay with Andrew's games. But later, I mean, there's probably going to be several more matchups between Andrew and Magnus, and it's going to come down to who probably performs better in those matchups, because both of them seem to be doing well against the competition. So what do we have here? Again, lots of pressure on the c-file. Is White just down a pawn? No, it's equal material. Black has the 2 knights versus 2 bishops. Now, generally in chess, 2 bishops are preferable, especially in the endgame. But in bullet, 2 knights are sometimes even more preferable, because knights are just so tricky, and they can be hard to deal with. And we can see, like, Black is making use of the knights. Rook c1, knight d2 is a threat, but oh, he just hung a knight on e4. He was so excited to play rook c1 and knight d2, he forgot the knight was attacked. That's pretty sad. Should have played knight c5 or knight d6. Back to tournament. Wow, okay, so I'm just looking at the stats here. There's 262 players playing. It looks like there's over 20 people streaming. I mean, this has to be historic for Lichess. And I think this is the biggest Lichess money tournament, if I'm not mistaken. One of the biggest titled arenas. Okay, so 104 points for Andrew, 91 points for Magnus. We'll stay with Andrew's games. Every time I look at a new game, it takes a few moments to absorb what's going on. Bishop c5 just happened. By the time I absorb what's going on, the game already finishes. Bishop c5 is not only a double attack, but it's checkmate. This rook, these 2 bishops are just completely brutal. Super Dink Fire is saying Magnus got to start berserking. That might be good advice, but it's hard to berserk against like 2,700 bullet players. But Magnus needs to get a streak. And we have a key matchup, Magnus against Andrew. This type of thing can just sit back, relax, and enjoy watching whatever is about to happen. I think it's really important for Magnus to keep his time advantage. Here time is relatively equal. I mean, it's very normal for them to like just blitz out the opening, middle game, and then spend most of the time grinding down the end game. Positioning, I like White's setup. I like this knight on d5. It can't easily be removed because Black has a dark squared bishop. But the bishop on d4 it can equally be annoying. Though the thing is, if rooks get traded, the queen and knight combination is almost always better than the queen and bishop combination. And Magnus just won the a6 pawn. Now there's a passed pawn. I think the only hope for Black is to try and get counterplay on the king side. What is knight c7? Oh, the knight was attacked. This isn't so simple now, because f2 hung, and the king is now a bit naked on g2. Maybe bishop g1 and queen f2 ideas. Though f7 is also attacked. Both sides are trying to attack on the king side, but things just liquidate. White's now better. That was a really crazy sequence of moves. Black just resigned. Yeah, the king h4 and king take h5 is just unstoppable, and black has no entry points on the queen side with the king. Back to tournament. That was a very crucial win for Magnus, preventing Andrew from getting a streak and perhaps starting a streak of his own. Let's watch Magnus's game. Let's see if Magnus can keep the streak. Oh man, this pawn structure is not the prettiest thing to look at. Both sides have a pair of double isolated pawns. The material's equal. Though, I mean, Magnus just excels in these positions. I like this move h5, fixing the pawn on the dark square, making it a long-term weakness. There's going to be future ideas of f5, bishop e7. Rook b8 counterattacking, now rook a8. All of black's pawns are pretty safe for the time being. f5 now attacks this pawn. Maybe rook c8, yep, keep the c7 pawn defended. f4, nice move. Now the bishop can come back and probably win the h4 pawn. Bishop b6 may be unexpected, but Magnus is going for the attack against the f2 pawn. Whoa, I'm about a little bit behind there. It is a race though. Like, black is trying to promote the h pawn, white's trying to promote the a pawn. Looks like black's gonna have to sack the bishop. Right? Only move? Or rook? He's looking at rook g8, but now he just wants to push the pawn. The pawn's a little bit too slow though. Magnus might be in trouble here. He's down a bishop. This rook and pawn are stuck. The question is, how does white make progress? Time's about equal. They just agree to a draw. Wow. I wonder if there was any way to like prove the advantage here for white. The problem is like everything's stuck. Like this rook is stuck defending the pawn. The king has no way to like improve itself. And these two pieces are stuck. And black's king has no real purpose in the position. Maybe, I mean, yeah, black can't play for a win here. It's only white trying to play for a win. That's a really interesting situation there. So Magnus does not get a streak. When you draw a game, you end your streak. So both Magnus and Andrew don't have streaks. There's just under 44 minutes left. I see Andrew just won a pretty brutal game. Brutal checkmate to finish that off. Back to tournament. Are we going to see another Magnus-Andrew matchup? No. Because Magnus is already playing a game. We'll take a look at this one. If Magnus wants to make a comeback, there's not too much time. I mean, the time is running out, and it's important that he gets a streak going, and he needs to put together a streak of wins to catch up. And we have another like relatively equal position, but there's some annoyances for white. The white just won a pawn. I think Magnus misplayed that a little, but black does have the time advantage. Infinite flash chess. Yeah, to answer the question, clever tactic but fail is penguin. I think it's been confirmed a few different ways, just based on, first of all, based on his openings, based on the Twitter status, and based on the fact that Andrew is one of the only players who can compete for first place in a tournament like this. So here we have a kind of typical bullet situation. White has a better position, but is low on time, and Magnus is one of the trickiest endgame players on the planet. Pawns are falling, and now it's equal material. Black's king is pretty active. The rook can come back and maybe win a2, though he's going after g4 first. Things are gonna simplify. I have a prediction. It's gonna come down to king rook versus king rook. Oh, I was gonna predict that Magnus was gonna try and play on, but he just takes another draw. That's 2 draws in a row for the world champion. Unexpected, given that the last 2 games were positions which Magnus should probably win on a good day. But okay, 95 points to 108 points. Andrew is keeping his lead. If we see the current position, he's down a queen, but he's going to flag his opponent. Ouch. Opera Wizen is strong, but just too slow. Which I think there's a saying, too weak, too slow, but if you're strong and too slow, it's just as bad. So back to tournament. Still waiting for another Andrew Magnus matchup. For the time being, oops, I didn't want to click on that. We're going to go back to the game with Andrew playing GM Pop G. Wonder if that's Gabor Pop. I'm pretty sure that's Gabor Pop, who actually attended the same collegiate program. We both graduated from the SPICE program run by Susan Polgar. I know this is a very strong player, but probably not as strong as Andrew in bullets. If we look at the position, white has comfortable center, but objectively it's probably equal. Black is being annoying with the queen. The white is keeping everything defended. We have the comment from Super Dink Fire, too weak, too fast. Too weak, too fast. I would probably prefer that over too weak, too slow. If you're fast, then at least you give yourself some chances. Let me know. There's a landscaper in the backyard currently. I'm using a microphone that should only pick up audio in this direction, but if you're hearing the landscaping, let me know. I can move. Hopefully it's not too bad. This is a condenser mic, so it should only be picking up audio in the direction of my my voice. But please let me know in the chat. Super Dink Fire is saying, nah, you good man. It is getting louder. But there's only one portion of grass that I see. So I did not know the landscaper was coming today at my grandma's place. I know he comes like on a weekly basis. Because the grass in California, it requires more watering and more landscaping. Things dry out more quickly. What do we have here? We have another time scramble. Andrew is down 2 pawns, and he's down on time. But knights are on the board. And this is where Andrew excels. He just won back 2 pawns. Now it's 9-on-3 versus 9-on-3. 2 seconds for white, 2 seconds for black. Got to put my money on Andrew. The knight's just too powerful. He won the knight. Time to pre-move, and black just flagged. Yeah, knights and bullets. It's such a dangerous combination. I think just because knights are so irregular, and like sometimes even if you're a good player, it takes a few moments for you to like see all the knight tricks in the position. Back to tournament. Clever tactic but fail. Still leading the tournament. Magnus has not gotten a streak. He drew 2 games in a row and then lost. Maybe he's on tilt. That's rough. We're gonna keep the eye on Andrew, who seems to be running away with first place. Braden Laughlin is saying, I'm assuming you have a noise gate on, so... Wait, what? When you talk, we hear like the quietest noise. I see, okay. Well, that's a good sign. Magnus is resembling his username of Dr. Drunkenstein. I wouldn't be surprised. I wonder what time is it in Norway?
The time in Oslo, Norway is 10:22 p.m.
Yeah, that's usually the time you go out and have a few beverages. Though I wonder if Magnus is actually in Norway. So there was a tournament that just finished, Granky. But yeah, maybe Magnus is not in the right mental state to play bullet. Here we have another position with a knight in the endgame, this time knight versus bishop. Black could not play d2 because bishop take d2 and the pawn would run. It looks like black should scoop up the b pawn somehow, but maybe not. White's controlling all these squares. Like there's some kind of force field around the pawn, and the king cannot penetrate. Though black has the same force field on e2, d2, and c2. White just hung a bishop? What was bishop e3? That's so unfortunate. Okay, this is easy win for black. Just don't stalemate. No unnecessary accidents. Yeah, you can't stalemate when your opponent still has a pawn like that. Back to tournament. 36 minutes left. Just over 36 minutes left. We have a new player, Skliara Victor. Sounds like a scary name from Ukraine. Any name that starts with Victor and ends with OV, it's a scary chess name. I don't like white's pawn structure. White's down a pawn. These pawns are very potentially weak. But white does have the file. Sometimes that's a one advantage with double pawns. It gives you the one extra open file. There's a lot of pressure on b7. Tons of pressure on b7. Black decides to sack the pawn with b5. Rook take b5. Interesting. So now it's just equal material. Somehow black liquidated. Steven, what's your name? Steven is Daedalus. Thank you for the 315 bits. I appreciate that. Okay, we have another grinding endgame. We've seen a lot of endgames with knights. Here we have bishops of the same color. There's a problem for black. This f7 pawn. This does not look good. White also has a passed a pawn. There's two issues for black in this position. Oh, he just blundered his rook. Sometimes those are the hardest moves to see in chess. These backward attacking moves. Like, you always have to pay attention to when your opponent can move backwards. That's brutal. But okay, white was probably just winning anyway. Like, this was a major threat and the pawn was promoting. Back to tournament. 122 points. Very nice streak for Andrew. Terrible streak for Magnus. I don't see how Magnus is going to come back at this point. There's just under 35 minutes left. Andrew is playing Alexander Bortnik, Knight King 96. So far they've only played once in this tournament, which Andrew won. We have a very similar structure to that previous game. I feel like every time I see these guys play, and Andrew is white, he always has pawns on c4, d5, and e4. And it's just a pleasant space advantage for white. And one thing in chess, when you have the space advantage, you usually want to avoid trading minor pieces, because that way you make your opponent more cramped. And black is very cramped here. Like, this bishop on c8, knight on e7, like all the major pieces, they're just really ineffective. And black is going to be under pressure. Also d4 might just be taken. Yeah. Now white's up a pawn, has a queenside majority. Yeah, why not push c5, c6? This is incredible pawn structure for white. b4 falls. White just has to make sure that he doesn't get mated on the king side. This pawn on g3 is scary in some positions, but white is just infiltrating on the queen side. This should be an easy win. Yeah, the white king is going to run to the queen side. White's going to hold on to g2. But how does white break through here? This bishop on c8 and queen on g8, that's a solid combination. Maybe rook b4, rook b8. Okay. Yeah, white wants to simplify. If white can trade queens and just manage the king side, or if white can just flag black. I mean, yeah, rook take b5, nice move. This pawn is queening. Game over. Really no reason to play on. Is white going to mate first, or is black going to flag first? Rook g8 coming. Nice finish. Okay, back to tournament. Wow, Andrew Tang. I mean, he's only like a high school kid, and he's about to win $2,250 just for playing a couple hours of bullets. It's pretty incredible. I don't think he's going to give the money back to Lichess. That would be pretty cool, though, if he keeps it the tradition of giving the first place prize back to Lichess, or just not accepting the first place prize. I doubt that's going to happen, though. I mean, $2,200 is a lot of money for a high school kid. Okay, but Carlsen just passed 100 points. We will keep following Andrew. I'm actually slightly disappointed Andrew isn't streaming this, because watching him stream and then win a tournament like this would be pretty epic. But okay, you can't ask for everything. Here we have some kind of French structure where the bad French bishop became a good bishop, and the fork happened on e2, and black was just winning a rook. These games finish so quickly, and Andrew is really good at just winning games quickly. Like, he puts immediate pressure on his opponents, and unlike Carlsen, who's grinding down his opponents, Andrew is actually able to win games much quicker, which just allows him to play more games and get more points. So, what opening was this? This was some kind of King's Indian? Yeah, some sort of ready King's Indian, which we've seen a few times before, where black gets some nice queenside play. I really like the control over the d3 square. The knight is super annoying in white's territory, and he just won the rook. Black is now just up the exchange, and just simplifying further. Wait, black was not up the exchange. What was on f1? Oh, the bishop was on f1. Never mind. I'm just so used to the rook being on f1, so it's just equal material. I'm just so used to Andrew just getting huge advantages from early on. I will say I do like black's position. This pawn on b2 is a major nuisance, and now black is up the exchange, so maybe I was predicting the future there. Pawn on e3 just fell. These aren't the easiest positions to win in long games, especially when the pawns are all on the same side. White has everything defended. But usually the winning plan for black is to infiltrate with the king and then probably target the f2 pawn, which seems to be what black is doing. Yeah, just attack f2, and g3 is going to fall. Like bishop e5, rook take g3 would be possible. And rook g4 is coming. This is just completely over. Just win the h4 pawn. Yeah, nice technical conversion by black. Braden laughing. Why did I say Braden laughing? Braden Laughlin saying, do you think Andrew will be tough competition for Magnus in future over the board? I don't think so. Andrew specializes in bullets. When it comes to over the board chess, I've seen Andrew play. Actually, I was at one of the last over the board tournaments Andrew played in, and Andrew was struggling in some of these longer games against lower rated players. I don't think he had the best performance. So I think over the board, like slower chess, Magnus still has a pretty big gap between him and everyone else in the world. Okay, back to tournament. Wow, so a 20+ point lead for Andrew. We haven't seen the Andrew Magnus matchup in a while. We have a new player who's playing Andrew. They have not played. Creative player 007. I'm curious if this is a known player. Just opening his profile. All it says, he's an FM. So, I mean, usually 2,500 bullet, that's a very strong rating, but when you're playing against Andrew, I mean, there's close to a 500 point rating difference between them. That's rough. Chessbus is asking, how do you think Fabi will fare against Magnus? I think Fabi has a very good chance against Magnus to hold his own in classical chess, but if the match comes down to like a rapid or blitz tiebreak, I think Fabi will just get crushed. So somehow Fabi needs to get some kind of lead in the classical and just avoid any playoff. But if he can do that, if he can maybe scrape off an early win, it's not out of the question that he could win the match. He just has to be in good form. Okay, so this is over. Up a queen, huge time advantage. Back to tournament. Is Magnus playing? Ooh, Magnus has 112 points. And he's not playing. I think we're about to see another matchup. Just waiting for the next game to start. Let's go to this tab. Yeah, another Andrew and Magnus matchup. C5. Okay, we have some kind of old school Benoni. I actually don't know the name for C5 on move 1. But it's one of these like structures, which I think it's a very idea-based opening. We see Magnus kind of knows where to place his pieces. He's going for the early kingside pressure. I like black's position already. I'm not impressed with white's opening. Brandon asking, could Fabi get the #1 spot if he wins the US Championships? Normally that would be a question I would answer later, but I am curious. I'm checking the rating list. If he wins US Championships, I doubt it. There's a 20-point difference currently between him and Magnus. And for Fabi, it's hard to gain rating points at the US Championships because he's top seed, and any draw he loses at least a few rating points. So he has to have a really good result to gain rating points. I actually wouldn't be surprised if Fabiano wins the US Championship but loses rating points. I think that may have even happened the year that he won. Anyway, I turned away, and this looks like a just tactical rampage. This bishop is pinned. Bishop take e3 is coming. These squares are off limits. This knight's so powerful on d3. That was pretty brutal. We're staying with Magnus, and Magnus is playing another chess streamer, Astana Chess. Astana Chess did the official commentary for the previous Lichess Arena. He did really good. I watched like his whole commentary replay in preparing for this. He's very, very good at talking fast. In my opinion, he's much better than myself. Probably one of the best like bullet commentators in the world. And now he's playing Magnus. I notice he's not streaming. It would be cool if he is streaming. If you're going to play Magnus, at least turn on your stream for one game. Magnus is threatening a very sneaky mate on h6. Bishop c5 check delays a threat, but okay, knight h6 is still possible. f6. Ouch. I mean, Astana Chess has to listen to Ben Feingold never play f6. But I don't know if there is anything else to do. Like how could the king escape? Maybe h5 was possible. But this looks pretty brutal. White is now... White's up a pawn. The king side is very weak. Queen take e6 is coming. This is a nice tactic. If bishop take d6, e6 would fall. Let's just see a slow motion replay of that moment. White was threatening mate. Was there any other way to defend? I thought h5, but then knight f6 happens. So both knight f6 and knight h6 were the threats. That's rough. Yeah, we have another matchup. Magnus against Andrew. So the last game Magnus won, and Magnus actually has a better score against Andrew this tournament, 4-2. And we have some kind of slow Spanish position. Getting some notifications on my phone, which I do have to slightly ignore. a4 and a take b5. So Andrew just lost a pawn. How did that happen? Ooh, knight c5. Nice to apply the pressure there. This is just bad for black. I mean, white's up a pawn, about to win another pawn on a6. d4 explosive. Don't know if d4 is necessary, but I mean, it seems like all the tactics are going in white's favor. Though maybe not anymore. There's a fork on c3. White's getting counterplay on c7. The position's becoming really wild. I mean, this is what black wants, given his position a few moves ago. You still gotta favor white here, even if black wins a rook. Though I don't know, because b5 falls. Black is up a full rook here. This rook might be trapped. Bishop c3, nice counter-attacking move. I'm staring at these moves. I have no idea what's going on. All I see is pawns rolling down the board. Black is up a bishop, but I don't think black can stop b7. Unless bishop c8 maybe was playable. But b8 queen is coming. And black is significantly low on time. Yeah, just game over. So this is what Magnus needs to do to catch up to Andrew. But if we look at the tournament standings... okay, so Andrew is on somewhat of a losing streak. He lost a game, won a game, lost a game. Magnus is on a very strong winning streak. This could be closer than I had thought just a few minutes ago. If Magnus keeps winning and Andrew keeps struggling, I mean, 22 minutes is a lot of time for Magnus to come back. 16-point difference. This could come down to the final games. And we might see some berserking later, but I don't think we'll see berserking in the matchups where both players are over 2,700. So we have this other classic matchup with Andrew against Bortnik. So far, Andrew has won all his games. I think Andrew has been white in all of the games too, if I'm not mistaken. But if we look at this position, I don't know, white's position looks a bit shaky. Like, white is down a pawn, black's pieces look scary. White's committed to f3. a3 almost trapped the knight. Knight take b3, the counterattack, attacking the queen, attacking this rook. But the rook was defended by the knight. So black sacked a piece, but rook e2. Second rank pressure. Queen h6, threatening mate in 1. This bishop is doing a really good job at defending, though. I think black is running out of ammunition. This is just over. White's up a piece. White has initiative. And very soon, like, there's going to be threats on the back rank. This is over. The queens are getting traded. There's still going to be threats. White's already up a piece. Game over. That was a pretty... that was a must-needed win for Andrew to hopefully get a streak going and maintain his lead. Okay, we're going to keep going. We have another matchup. Daniel Naroditsky against Andrew. I mean, these are not easy opponents that Andrew is facing. And Andrew has not beaten Rebecca Harris, aka Naroditsky, this tournament. We have 1 win and 1 draw in favor of Naroditsky. I think a lot of people are rooting for Magnus. I don't know who I'm rooting for. Like, it would be cool to see Andrew win, but I kind of have to root for Magnus, given that he had the slow start. He's technically the underdog, given the way Andrew is playing. Don't always hear that Magnus can be an underdog. And additionally, if Magnus wins, then he doesn't take the first place prize, and the money will usually go back into the prize pool for the next tournament. So it would be cool to see a Magnus comeback here. Though, okay, Andrew's about to win this game. He's just up a piece. The d-pawn's under control. And once this pawn falls, I wouldn't be surprised if Naroditsky just resigns very soon. I mean, knight take d3. Oh, there's tricks though. If king e2, there is rook a2. But pawn f4, nice way to obstruct this bishop. 2 knights. Yeah, this game's not going to last much longer. And we should keep in mind that Naroditsky is probably fighting for some prize money too, assuming he's in the top 10. I mean, if you place in the top 6, you're guaranteed some cash. But black's playing on. Never know what type of unusual stalemates would happen. Don't take that rook on b7. That would be stalemates. I know we've seen crazy stalemates in the past. Maybe not this tournament, but definitely in previous tournaments. And black is trying to cause some technical issues with the rook. But white's just scooping up pawns. This knight f6 move is coming. And Andrew is a pretty seasoned player when it comes to these positions. Still playing on. I was wrong about Naroditsky resigning. But this might actually play in Magnus's favor because it was such a long game. It slows down Andrew from winning more games. And Magnus is keeping a streak. This is a 12-point difference between first and second place. Now both players are on a streak. Is Magnus currently playing? Yes, he is. About to win another game. Just up a knight and about to queen. MSB2 is playing on, praying for some stalemate. But easy win for Magnus. Let's go back to tournament. Andrew has just started another game. This is an 8-point difference between first and second place. 136 to 144. Andrew playing against Oberwesen. Andrew has a great score against Oberwesen. We have to assume that Andrew will take care of business here. But there are some scary things about this position, like the open h-file. Maybe black is just preparing bishop g7. And it is hard to break through. I think what white has to do is play queen h2. Yeah, queen h2. How does black stop rook h8? King f8 only move. Rook h7, going for rook take g7. This is very scary for black. The queen comes back. Can rook take g7 be played? Maybe not, because the king could escape. But Andrew had to sack the exchange, so white is up material. White still has the attack on the h-file. Bishop take b3. What move is that? Pawn take b3? Rook take g7. What is going on? Queen h8's a threat. White's just up material. Black's going for counterplay, hoping to like run away with the king, but this is forced mate. Andrew just lost his first game to Oberwesen, maybe feeling the pressure. Wow, this is gonna come down to the wire. Back to tournament. Is Magnus playing? Magnus is playing, trying to keep his streak. I think Magnus was on tilt earlier, but now he's found some level of maturity. And if we look at the game, Actually, I don't like his position. He is up the exchange, but this pawn is just so strong. This knight is such a monster on d5. Can't be removed. Though, okay, black is up material. The pawn's under control. Knight c7, nice move, obstructing the rook. Bishop d8 was the only move. Now we're going to see the rook's going to come back to c8. This should be an easy win for black. The king will come over. The white is winning pawns. This is not so simple. Didn't realize white could take all those pawns. And the only way to get rid of the c-pawn is to sack the rook for it. White might have to win this on time. Or black might have to win this on time. Technical issues. h6 can't be taken. Okay, white's about to flag. It's always nice when you have a tricky endgame, but your opponent's flagging. Now it's an easy win. Okay, nice game by Magnus, keeping a streak. A 4-point tournament, 144 to 140. Andrew needs to string together some wins. This is gonna come down to the wire. Yeah, it's incredible. Like these bullet tournaments, you play, you play for 10 minutes, you win a bunch of games in a row, you get a lot of tournament points. It looks like black has the upper hand here. Yeah, black is just crushing. Like, look at this time advantage. If you're up 30 seconds, that's equivalent to just being like up a queen at least. So Andrew won that, increasing his lead, 6-point lead. Wait a minute. Why did Drunkenstein pause? Is Magnus pausing just to try and play Andrew? That's so strange. Why would he pause? Did he lose connection? Andrew just started his game. Oh, toilet break. Okay. I guess that's one of the things. That's not the most convenient time to take a toilet break during a tournament like this, when every second counts, really. We're going to go back to watching Andrew. So he's playing Rosen, who defeated Andrew for the first time. Their current tournament score is 3-1 in Andrew's favor. I like to start from black. He has a 10-second time advantage, very solid position. Yeah, for anyone looking for bullet tournament advice, for a long bullet tournament like this, don't drink too much beforehand, even if it's water. But okay, if we stick with the game, the 10-second time advantage has turned into a 20-second time advantage. I mean, the position is still a fight, but I think the time's going to say it all. I mean, white is even up a pawn here, but I mean, Rosen, I think this has been the case for Rosen. If he wants to beat Andrew, he has to beat him in the position and quickly enough, because Rosen is just too slow for Andrew. White's still up a pawn, but two bishops just won the pawn back. Now black's up a pawn. That's what happens when you're low on time. Back to tournament. So he's drinking a Corona. Interesting. I wonder if this is some sort of new sponsorship. That would be really, really weird. Because Red Bull sponsors Nakamura. It'd be really weird for Corona to sponsor Magnus. But I feel like if I was like CEO of Corona, I wouldn't mind to have Carlsen like being sponsored. Anyway, back to tournament. Let's keep an eye on Andrew. He's still leading. He has an 8-point lead. He has a streak. He's playing Ali Reza, 2003. Rubik 87 just joined. Clever tactic but fail is the one and only Andrew Tang. I think that's is very clear at this point. Performing very well. I know in previous titled arenas he's had to play from his iPad. He's been at school. He's streamed the event. This tournament he's taking very seriously. He's had the early lead, and he has not lost the lead for pretty much since the tournament started. So what is going on here? Black has some pressure. Like, this rook on b2 is annoying, but actually I don't know what's going on here. Andrew has a knight. Knight g4 could be coming. Knight g4, knight f6. There's some weak dark squares from for black to worry about. Knight f6 happens. The knight gets traded off. Maybe the other knight's coming to g4. Knights are so tricky, especially when you combine it with a queen. And this king is pretty naked. The f-file just opened, knight e5, obstructing the queen from defending f4. White's just up a piece. This is absolutely crushing. Black can resign. Rook d7. Nice move. Though black's playing on because there's maybe some counterplay possibilities. Oh my gosh. It's perpetual. It's just a draw. Oh, that's got to be painful for Andrew. It was an easy win, but he allowed counterplay. And the time situation doesn't matter when there's easy perpetual. That's rough. I mean, that could be a key game in the tournament. Let's go back to the standings. Andrew loses his streak. It's a 6-point lead still, but Carlsen still has his streak. Let's look at Carlsen's game. Time being, let's see. Oh, he's playing Upper Wezen. Huge time advantage. Positional advantage to 2 bishops. He is down the exchange, but okay, black just won a rook on, or just lost a rook on h8. So is this a 2-point tournament? 150 to 148? This is ridiculous. It's going to come down to the last 10 minutes. There's just over 10 minutes left. We're going to look at Andrew against 12-teen. 26-66. That's not the best omen of luck. Bishop take f2 with the sacrifice. Just that was a pretty clever tactic. But what did he gain from that? He just lost a piece? Yeah, that completely failed. Another instance of Andrew's username matching the situation in the game. If Andrew loses this game, Magnus is going to take the lead. He does have the time advantage though, but White's position is so godly. Like this pawn, 2 bishops. I mean, White should convert this. As 12-teen, I would be nervous. My hands would be sweating. White just won. White's now up 2 bishops for a measly. No, the pawns are equal. Oh, bishop e5. Bishop e5's game over. 11 seconds, more than enough time to win this position. Andrew is not getting a streak. Magnus is keeping the streak. Magnus also broke 3,000. Congrats to him. I did not want to do that. I want to go to Magnus TV. Sometimes difficult to go back and forth. Here we see White just won. I'm trying to absorb what's going on, and the game already finishes. Back to tournament. Magnus is currently leading the tournament. We're going to stick with him. If he keeps his streak, he could run away with it in the last 9 or so minutes. Watch games. He's playing GM The Warning, who he almost adopted, but the last 2 games, Magnus has not won. Magnus lost a game and then drew a game, so this is not an easy opponent for Magnus. Yeah, he probably has to tone down the Corona and maybe start having some, I don't know, some coffee or Red Bull just to stay awake for the next 8 minutes. I mean, this type of position is somewhat positional. Like, it's going to be a long grind, and this game is probably going to go full length. Meaning, if it does go full length, there will only be maybe 5 to 6 minutes left until the tournament ends. So there's really not too many games left. What is going on? There's so much pressure on the d-file. I like the bishop-rook combination versus the rook-knight combination, just because there's pawns on both sides of the board. Though then again, we can never underestimate a knight. But there's serious issues for White. The pawn on a2 is super weak, and then the pawn on a3 is gonna touch down. Just a few more moves. a2 coming. White just resigns. That's helpful for Magnus. Needs to he would like to play as many tournament games as possible before the time limit is up. He has 156 points. This is the first time of the day that he's taken the lead. We're gonna stick with his games. Now he's playing Mutt D Pro from Vietnam. This is a Vietnamese IM who specializes in bullet. But if anyone specializes in bullet the most, it's got to be Carlsen. I like this position. There's a lot of pressure on f2. Rook e2, such an ugly move, slowing down White's development. If White wants to develop, the rook had to move back, yeah. But now rook d8 will come. Black's controlling the only open file. White's going to try and neutralize with rook d1. It's another one of these long and grinding positions, which you gotta favor Magnus in. And for the second game in a row, it's rook and bishop versus rook and knight, where the bishop in most cases outperforms the knight. I know we've said knights are tricky in bullet, but when the knight's on a3, it's not that tricky. Black is gaining a nice space advantage on the king side. This pawn is weak. The king's going to come to g6, and the rook is just tied down on h1. Bishop b7, nice move. The question for black, how to make progress. Maybe start pushing the g-pawn, or maybe just win the e-pawn. Yeah, just take free pawns, why not? And then start pushing your passed pawns. Yeah, Magnus is going to win this game. He's going to run away with the lead. Another victory. 160 points. So now Magnus has a 6-point lead. I think for Andrew is getting a streak again. Are we going to see an Andrew Drunkenstein matchup? Okay, clever tactic but fail is still playing. Watch this game real quick. Oh, this is not looking good for Andrew. This is looking very bad. h7, h8. Pawn is about to queen. White's up a piece. The only hope for Andrew is time. Like, he needs to win this game to have any chance in the tournament. And he is a slippery player. He's not the easiest player to like grip, even when you are up material. There's got to be some mating net here. I mean, but it's so tricky. Like, black's defending some key squares, and this pawn is hard to promote. White has 4 seconds left. If Andrew can win this, he still has some chances to come back. Rook g8. Oh, wow. If White can take the pawns, it's going to be a draw. Okay, the game ends in a draw. Oh, that was close. I guess all 3 results were possible there. It's a good save by Andrew, but it's not going to get him too far. Let me refresh the standings here. Magnus is currently playing MSB2. Magnus has a monstrous streak. Has beat this guy 4 games this tournament. Again, every time I look at Magnus's positions, there's some like endgame where he's better. This case, he's down on time, but his position's just better. He has the 2 bishops. That bishop c6 move was nice. Double threat of taking the knight and promoting the pawn. Yeah, Magnus is going to be winning this pretty cleanly, it seems like. Super Dink Fire is asking if that was Laquan Liem, who's a good friend of mine. I don't think Laquan Liem is playing this tournament. The Vietnamese player was an IM. Laquan Liem is like GM rated, like top 20 in the world, I think. Are we going to see a 2 bishop mate? We're going to see a 2 bishop mate. Roll the bishops. Yes, bishop f6 with the mate. That's a nice finish. Didn't need the pawn on h3. Magnus is running away with it. And Andrew had such a big lead earlier in the tournament, but it doesn't matter. Like, look at this amazing streak. If Andrew has any chance, he needs to start berserking. He also needs to play against Magnus to end his streak. Here we have Magnus against a warning, which should be a game in Magnus's favor. We have a Grunfeld position. I think this is one of like a pretty theoretical Grunfeld line. I don't play the Grunfeld myself for either color, so I don't know too much theory here. Though f4 looks annoying because e5 could happen, and these pawn, like, look at these center pawns. They look pretty immaculate, especially this pawn chain, which can't easily be removed. I'm not that impressed with Magnus's position. Looks like he's going to go for this g5 break. I mean, at the very least, White could take and play g3, reinforce everything. I like what White's doing. White's putting pressure on all areas of the board. Like, the center is nice. Now the queen side is a bit shaky for black, and this pawn on d6 is a constant worry. Oh my gosh, but look, this h-pawn is a bigger problem. H-pawn just wants to queen. Bishop take f5, going for the double pass pawns. I have no idea what's going on here. You gotta favor Magnus though, because this pawn has really no blockaders, and black has these pawns under control. But it's some kind of pawn race. What is going on? Rook take rook and then queen. Ooh, d7 comes with check. So rook a8 only move maybe? Oh, maybe rook a3 and then queen. That should be an easy win. Oh, but it's White's move. I forgot whose move it was. Okay, it's still an easy win. Why not? Yeah, this is just over. Enough time. There's 1 minute left in the tournament. Tim3LPs just subscribed with Twitch Prime. I appreciate that. There's no way Andrew's catching up to Magnus. Wow. Magnus Carlsen is winning the tournament. A come from behind victory. We don't usually hear those words referring to Magnus Carlsen. He usually is always in the lead, but this tournament he came from behind. We'll watch what seems to be the last game. This game might not even count for the tournament standings, but his lead is large enough where there's not going to be a super close finish. I think he has a 9 or 10 point lead at the time. Though he has a great position here. I mean, I can just look at whichever side Magnus is playing and safely assume that he has a good position. Here, Black is up a pawn. These games today are really testing me on my counting abilities. But Black is up a pawn. This pawn is dangerous though. Bishop b7 is a threat, but the pawn's going to fall. Sometimes overextended pawns, they could be strong, but a lot of the cases they're just weak and they fall. Now Magnus is up 2 pawns. The knight's going to hop in. Ooh, knight b6, nice move, just winning material. The tournament has officially ended. Back to tournament. Congratulations, Magnus Carlsen. Won the tournament by 8 points. Magnus has now won the last 4 titled arenas. I think there's only been 4 titled arenas, so he's won every single one. And I think we can safely assume that Magnus is not accepting the $2,250 prize. Every single titled arena, the first place prize gets bigger because Magnus does not accept the prize. He gives the money back to Lichess to put towards future tournaments. Very, very impressive. Andrew finished in a very stable second place. I'm sure he's upset. He had great chances to win that tournament. He had a few not so good streaks, or not so good like series of games where he lost the streak, and it made the difference. Like Magnus ended with 1, 2, 3, 4, about 20 wins, which is pretty incredible in this type of field with so many strong bullet players. But there is money for Andrew Tang. Solid $500. Not bad for a couple hours of bullet. Alexander Bortnik in 3rd place with $200. I see that there's a tie. There's actually a tie for 5th and 6th, so I'm not sure how the tie breaks are determined. If they split the money or there's some kind of win rate or performance rating tie break. Opperwesen in 4th place, and then Nirvana 95 from, I don't know if that's a real country or not. Never heard of Nirvana 95. Maybe a younger player. And MSB2, who is an anonymous player, had a good showing, tying for 5th and 6th place. I see, okay, a lot of people in the chat. I'm sorry if I missed any like crucial comments. A lot of people asking who is Clever Tactics. Clever Tactics, I think we know is Andrew Tang. If we look at the status from Andrew back in, this was February 10th. This was about 2 months ago. He posted the status, Clever Tactic, but fail. I wouldn't be surprised if this tweet just takes off, given his performance today. We could do a bit more digging here and see when this account was created. Yeah, this account was created back in February, around when Andrew tweeted that. So I think it's been confirmed, and a lot of the same openings that Clever Tactic but Fail played were part of Andrew's opening repertoire. Oh, it is shown on his profile too. Okay, so player confirmed. That's cool. Wow. Okay, that was difficult. That was a long. That actually went by really quick, but that was a long time to be doing commentary, just nonstop commentary for 2 hours. I see we have a lot of viewers. At the very beginning of the tournament, I did challenge Magnus Carlsen. It looks like Magnus Carlsen has left the site, though. I don't see him online, which is slightly unfortunate. I was going to try and at least play him, or at least try and challenge him. Wow. I have things to do today. That was really exciting. Okay, we have the winner here, Dr. Drunkenstein. If anyone has any questions in the chat, I think I'll hang around for another few minutes. And I see Carlsen ended his stream. Probably what I'm going to do later today is rewatch all of Magnus's stream. If anyone in the chat was watching Magnus's stream, let me know like how it was. If you have any clips or any highlights, feel free to share that in this chat. Some discussion. Yeah, Rebecca Harris is Daniel Naroditsky. I don't know why he chose the name Rebecca Harris. Don't know what that's referring to. X Villager is asking, how did you like to be the official host of the tournament? It was really cool. I'm really grateful to Lichess for hosting or for asking me to be the official host. It was a bit unexpected. I've never done bullet commentary. I rarely ever do commentary, so this was new for me. I don't know if people can see. I don't think people can see because the microphone's blocking, but I do have my Lichess shirt on. I know Lichess doesn't like for there to be any ads or like any like incentives to like make people what am I trying to say? Just Lichess doesn't like ads, but I will tell people if you want a Lichess shirt, you can go to one of their sub pages that they rarely ever promote, lichess.org/swag. I also have the Lichess hoodie, which is a really nice hoodie. Like I've been traveling with this hoodie, and it has like the cool Lichess Knight logo, and it's super comfortable. So they didn't ask me to like promote that. I just for my own sake, and because I don't know if anyone knows or everyone knows, but Lichess is completely nonprofit. They solely run on donations. So events like this are not the easiest to run for a site like Lichess. Let's actually go back to the tournament standings. I am curious, just the overall takeaway. Okay, that's Magnus Carlsen's profile. How do I go back to the tournament? I'll just type in Titled Arena. This should, oh, that took me to Google. Oh, no, it took me to Lichess. And now here we go. So just an overview, 270 players played. That's a huge number because all of these players are title players. I am curious how many of those were Grandmasters. By the way, thank you Kilo Alpha for following. I don't think I give too many like follow shoutouts, and it's very hard for me to look at like notifications and everything else. Oh wow, I'm looking at the chat now, and people are sharing clips. I gotta watch this. Gotta watch these. I'm sure these will like go viral at some point. I appreciate everyone who are sharing the clips. Huge shout out to RX for more bits, 500 bits. Really appreciate that. Thank you everyone else who I have not given a shout out to. I do have my thing open. Mr. Kyle 933, thanks for following. Okie Dokie 777, thanks for following. Frame 24, Timelapse subscribed with a Prime, thank you. Chelsea 298, you guys rock. Yeah, I'll be streaming more often probably this coming week, especially at my grandma's place. She has amazing Wi-Fi. I'm gonna try and set up a stream schedule. I do have a schedule on my website, which I will promote more once it's actually set for this coming week. I need to count the GMs for the blog post. Yeah, everyone who wants like a broader overview, keep an eye out for the blog post. I know every Titled Arena that Lichess does, they have like a blog overview, and it can be pretty insightful. And I know this event was pretty historic for online chess and just chess in general. I mean, we had Carlsen not only winning the tournament but streaming the tournament. Like the world, I know I said this earlier, but the world champion streaming bullet chess for 2 hours. I think it's the first time that Carlsen streamed this event. I know he streamed in the past for Pro Chess League, but streaming a tournament like this where there's so much money on the line, it's great for chess, and hopefully we'll see a lot more events like this. I'm going to sign off. Thank you to everyone who's watching. Thank you for Lichess for an amazing event, for asking me to do the commentary. I'm hoping next event that I get to play in, and hopefully someone else can can do commentary, but I'll leave it at that. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the future. Bye.